than yesterday.
Before the Beatles and yesterday,
When a man
there was marijuana
still
everywhere.
would.
There was cocaine, heroin, and you had about a little less than a third of people using it than use it today statistically. Because people look down on the old lady down the street that was a laudanum addict. They look down on the guy that was, stoned out of his gourd every day. But then they demonize it with reefer madness, saying it makes you commit murders. Now they're running PSAs that say that, when all the science shows us the opposite. Makes you go get the munchies and eat nachos. And so that's how they destroyed America, is with this drug war. The outside banking cartels that launder the money made the drugs illegal so they could jack up the price and then corrupt the police. Getting back to the Texas Youth Commission, then all the different TV shows. There's a feeding frenzy right now with all these big TV shows you're about to start. In my experience, just watching this, that's when you do get one of the big shows, is when there's 3 or 4 deals going. So that's really exciting. We'll talk about your run for Attorney General and a lot more. So please continue.
I'm just excited at all the opportunities that we have, and we're putting together a great team to really help America. And it doesn't take a politician to always help America. In fact, right now is the best time for citizens to run, because it's kind of the person who doesn't look like a politician that's getting popular and getting elected.
Exactly. Everybody hates both parties. That's why they want Obama to suck everybody back into trusting politicians. But go ahead.
I want to clarify something about...
Continue. Go ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to just change topic real quick. When you talk about the pot giving you the munchies, there's actually strains of marijuana, like there are different kinds of wines and whiskeys and alcohol. They have it tailor-made now. For instance, when I was in L.A. a couple days ago, my manager took me to a pharmacy. Beautiful place, run very professionally, and he showed his medical marijuana card, and they have different brands in there. Some pot does not make you hungry and sleepy. There's some pot that actually gives the person kind of an up buzz that's better for activities such as art and that type of thing.
No, I understand that it's incredibly complex, and the government decades ago developed all these specific, just amazing varieties.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just a plant to smoke and catch a buzz and escape from reality.
But for somebody that's had chemotherapy, I've got friends who are dying of cancer, and they give them THC pills of the variety that make them hungry just so they can eat.
Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely. And then I heard you talking last night on that drug war film that, a lot of America is droned out, walking through life without emotion because of Xanax and the uptake inhibitors and those type of things. And I would just encourage those Americans that are on the Prozac and the antidepressants, try to switch over to the pot, because you can maintain emotions and still be... And
again, I said this last time, that's what George Washington did.
Well, sure. It helps a lot of people that are very intense in life calm things down a bit to think better. So I wanted to throw that in.
Well, have you seen these public service announcements and then little blurbs and TV shows where a murderer who kills his family then goes, oh, the weed made me do it? They're actually coming back with reefer madness type stuff.
Yeah, and see, even cocaine doesn't make people commit a crime. Methamphetamine doesn't make people commit a crime. We were taught that drugs are good or evil, Well, drugs can't be good or evil. They don't have a soul. They're just a substance. It's what people do with those. There's no scientific evidence at all that says if I snort, or any person snorts a line of methamphetamine, they're going to become possessed all of a sudden and run over and rob a store. Drugs do not cause the crimes. Prohibition causes the crime. And when you have a selfish person taking drugs, then you have a selfish person on drugs. If you have a bar fighter and then you put that bar fighter on drugs, you have a bar fighter on drugs. But it's not the drugs that made him bar fight. It's not the drugs that made the person steal. It's character issues within the person.
Well, exactly. They're already unstable. But particularly with the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, though, that aren't natural and that are a byproduct of petrochemical production, they actually eat holes in your brain. They're actually very toxic. And as you said, then making drugs illegal, the basic precursor agents they use are toxic. And then so it's the methamphetamine certainly would keep you up. And after a week, you would go crazy from lack of sleep.
Right.
But by itself, the methamphetamine is filled with all these heavy metals and Grignard reagents because they made its its precursors prohibited, so people had to go get toxic waste to basically make it, and so that's what's really killing the people.
Yeah. And again, back to my argument, it's not the drugs causing these crimes. No different than when I was a cop and I would go in and arrest a guy for beating his wife because he was drunk. I took him to jail for that assault, but not the liquor bottle next to him. Where if a person's doing cocaine and they get into a fight, they go to jail for the fight and the cocaine because they say the cocaine causes the fight. Part of the lies that we've been told as kids, and it's the same lies my parents and my grandparents.
Well, I have to say this.
Believe.
I've done cocaine twice. When I was like 15 and 16, I'd be at a party or something, and somebody'd say, there's some, cocaine in this joint or in this cigarette, and you smoke some of it, and it would just make me feel like a dirty coffee high. And then, frankly, many times where I've forgotten and drunk 5-6 cups of strong coffee, I mean, I'm 10 times more buzzed and jacked up than the 2 times I did cocaine.
Yeah, and again.
So what's the deal with? Why do people want to use cocaine when in my experience, coffee jacks you?
The sex and the partying, cocaine triggers something, and I don't know the science behind it, but it triggers this sexual thing, and sex is better. The partying, you can party longer. Back in the 80s, it was an extremely popular drug among the elite and the wealthy. We all know those stories, but that's why cocaine is so attractive, and you really have to have a lot of issues to become a cocaine addict, a true cocaine addict. Having the craving to snort a line of coke at a party is not the same as addiction.
Well, that's the same thing.
It's hard to get addicted to cocaine, folks.
The neurons in the brain that accept cocaine and other narcotics are the same ones that accept nicotine.
Okay.
It's the same class. Yeah.
So, again, we talk about drugs, and this isn't just this isn't really a drug issue. This is a freedom issue.
Well, it is. I mean, what I'm saying is 70 years ago, you could walk into any five and dime, and they would have even small stores would have a small pharmacy area at the back, and there was cocaine, heroin, just everything there on the shelf, and there were addicts. And, I've been out in the countryside at some old burned-down farm, from the 30s or something, and there's those laudanum bottles just in piles out in the woods everywhere, opium bottles. But, that person was addicted and had a problem. They didn't, need to go to prison. I mean, they bought that at Eckerd's.
Well, Americans are smart. Through education, we cut cigarette smoking by 50%. The government, those men that sit in Washington, D.C., believe they have to outlaw something to protect Americans, when the truth is we should be able to decide our own health. And as long as those drugs or whatever we use aren't causing harm to somebody else, we should have that freedom to use that particular substance. And I know we're repeating the same arguments, but here's what we have to really concentrate on, and that's the life of a prisoner. Listen, there are people sitting through this at the time it took to finish this interview. Every 38 seconds through this interview, somebody got handcuffed and put in the back of a patrol car, and they're headed to a cage right now. And those places stink. They're scary. They're horrible. They're full of pedophiles. You wouldn't believe what some of the guards look like. We're living in a country.
I call them maggot demons.
Yeah, they believe that they're there to punish people instead of incarcerate people.
Well, they get off on the sadist.
Yeah.
They're sadists.
Right. So
I've been in juvenile one time for 2 days, and somebody tried to rape me, and it was a guard. One visit, folks. One visit.
Somebody's getting raped right now in jail.
Oh, they're getting raped everywhere.
Yeah, that got put in there over a non-violent drug crime.
And then the jail guards and the cops, they all defend their corruption, just like CPS when they kill kids or get them drowned or whatever or use them for sex. Because the system wants to protect itself, all its crime, so the smart criminals are filling the government.
That's right. And the judges and the prosecutors that are supposed to be a checks and balance on these police officers are actually enablers. They're enabling the police to continue their power structure because a judge can wield, he can't be, I sue judges, but the attorney general always wiggles them out of it.
And if a probation officer doesn't nail young people or nonviolent folks and doesn't find reasons to keep them under the thumb or send them back to jail, they get kicked out themselves.
That's right. That's right. And I want to make this point. We, the adults that you hear in our country talk about our kids are going to pot. What's wrong with our kids? They don't show respect anymore. There is a principle that says when there's a problem in a company, a government, a family, a school, anywhere, it's always leadership.
Oh, that's so key.
Instead of leadership beating the sheep up, you hear